Heading north, he dropped in for a bag of beans and some local advice. He smiled but received no response. Silence prevailed for good, while just before one of the men said,
Crane's my name.
John Crane walked into the back of a room with a taste to pick up dry goods. Unfortunately, he had unintentionally entered the devil's den. He was a good man for a nose to smell a menace right at the moment the room reeked of it. Where had he picked up this sixth sense?
I'd be obliged if we could talk about the lay of the land between here and Marceline. I don't know the country.
Just keep heading northeast and it is what it is.
I won't take but a minute or two of your time. Am I disturbing something here?
Why, yes you are. Get on out of here, stranger. Crane knew this was not a request or even a direction. It was an ultimatum, clear and simple. He also knew that when a man is told to move on or worse, turn a blind eye, his character is challenged. If a man is accompanied by an intimidation, then the easy thing to do is walk away. After all, what happened in and around Brunswick had nothing to do with him. He was just passing through. He started the survey at Warrensburg and still had over 100 miles to go to Kakoa. Trouble is, when you bend the will of man against your conscience, it's kind of hard to bend back and become straight again. And then there's that aftertaste of guilt that never quite goes away. But what exactly had Crane stumbled into? Those seated were 4 cowmen. The standing one, an older man, his name was Boss Illard, who had learned his trade herding barrel longhorns out of Texarkana with Charles Smith. Illard was held in such a high regard by Smith that he had become his leading hand. However, all of that didn't amount to a hill of beans in Brunswick. Illard was in trouble, and he had just been accused of a trumped-up charge of rustling. Stealing cattle anywhere, anytime, is a serious matter with grave consequences. This indictment was immediately denied by Illard, saying that all of his herd, some 1,600 head, were clearly marked with a T5 brand, and his crew could vouch the same. Trouble was, his crew was all black, so such affirmation was dismissed out of hand. Now, cattle do get mixed up on the open range from time to time. Some of those critters just have a mind of their own. The only fair witness to this tragedy of justice was John Crane, yet he knew none of the chances at hand. What he did know was that one black man was up against 4 white men. Crane had been around and seen much. He understood the evil of injustice, and it came out as a legacy from his father, who had been a Methodist preacher, one who actually put in the teachings of the Holy Bible into practice. The preacher honestly believed that all men were God's children, and that they were all created equal. Therefore, they needed to be treated as such, regardless of birth and what denied or bestowed upon them. This was a view of the world and had seared the mark upon John Crane. However, he was no preacher like his father. He had given up on hope. There was also something else to make up a Crane. He was just like a Texan, and Texans just don't like to be pushed around, quarreled, and told them what to do. Some say it comes from the water they drink. If it is true, the water that comes from San Antonio River that runs next to the Alamo.
I know that country between here and Cahokia. I can tell you about the lay of the land.
Well, I'd be obliged.
He won't be telling you anything.
The man delivering this proclamation was Frank Bella. He was a big man with a big reputation for putting people in their place, or at least where he believed their place should be, and sometimes that had just been in the ground. John Crane didn't know who he was, but he did pick that he was the head honcho of these 3. 3 accepted his decree with a grin, which reminded Crane of the dumb steers falling behind of a cow with a bell around its neck. Crane shook his head.
Why is that? Unless you are the law and have this man under arrest, he has the right to talk to whoever he likes. Oh, I can't see a star.
I know. It has nothing to do with you. You just don't know when to shut him and walk away, do you?
Crane shook his head a little while still smiling.
I beg to differ. That man is wearing a Texas star on his belt buckle, and I wear one too. It kind of identifies one Texan to another.
Some mock laughter accompanied the question.
What makes you think we will ever let you testify against us?
You're right. But to stop me, you'd have to kill me.
Confusion was now writ large on the four faces while Boss Lillard looked in astonishment. The air of the room had changed. All now paused in anticipation, and what happened next was a game of first play, which eventually comes in any Mexican standoff. It is the decisive act that seeks to win the deal by surprise, and Crane was ready for it. He had talked two of his opponents He had talked two of his four opponents into a standstill and annoyed the hell out of Frank Bellum. But it was the fourth cattleman who showed the intention to act. It was written all over his face long before he went for the draw.
This is crap. Get him.
But not fast enough. The muzzle of his handgun had only just cleared the holster and was pointing down towards the floor when Crane struck his first shot away. It struck the target higher than he intended, punching into the lower throat right of the little hollow of the neck. The shock of the impact caused a jerk to the trigger finger, firing a shot to splinter the floor at Crane's feet. Both men collapsed to the ground with one thud, and there was gun smoke cleared. There was just two men standing, John Crane and Frank Bellum, each with their eyes fixed on each other.
I'm not going for my gun.
Why not? I can put my gun back in the holster and we can start over. It'll be a 50-50 chance.
We can cut the deal. I'm a powerful man in these parts.
Shut the hell up.